Welcome back as we get ready for Group 1. And this, I have to say, I've been looking at the groups in preparation for this. And Mark Skidmore joins me, and Bert Skidmore, excuse me, joins me. Bert, good to have you again. We talked at the last event we were at together, and well, let's take us through Group 1. I love the way the groups have been sort of sorted this time. We've got a lot of great American cars out here and some really, really good combinations of European cars and then the specials that the Americans then turn some of those cars into, whether it be Tatum, Curtis, Streets, Manning, you name it.
It's great to be back.
Perfect conditions, and again, a very strong field. Doesn't get any stronger.
Wasn't Jenson Button driving a C-type in this group? Is that correct?
That's it. That is absolutely correct.
Yep.
He is driving his own C-type, which he bought not that long ago. He drove it at Goodwood Revival. He's also driven it here on the West Coast because he spends a lot of time out here. But it's an ex-Juan Manuel Fangio car. So to think that it's been owned, I mean, the price, if he sells it, by 2 World Formula One champions is pretty darned impressive.
Who's on the pole?
Right, let me give you some live timings. Well, Jenson was some 8 seconds quicker than anybody yesterday, so he's ahead of Charles McCabe and Marcus Bicknell. John Budebaum, another very famous name here on the West Coast. Kevin Adair, some really well-named names. Robert Manson, people that you've seen on many of the historics. There is Jenson in the 22.
Very cool, very cool.
Beautiful car. And, of course, a British car for a British man from Frome in England. But I was saying in the intro, you know, it's sort of full circle, isn't it? Phil Hill wins the first ever Pebble Beach race, the first major international race in a Jaguar back in the day, back in 1950 along the Pebble Beach forests. And here we are, many, many years later, and another Formula One world champion returns in a Jaguar and leads the pack.
Yeah, what a great group. What a great group. That number 21 car is Tom Price's. We just did the engine in that car.
What have you done?
We rebuilt it.
Now, how long a job is that? That's a...
It's months. It takes long time to get pistons and stuff like that. So here we go.
Yep, here we go. So Jenson Button leading the way, and we expect him to go for the win. He didn't win, actually. He was 4th place, I think, at Monterey.
I think he had issues with the car at the beginning, and that might have hindered how he finished.
So he's out for a win, is our Jenson Button. You never take the world champion out of a world champion, and he is as competitive as ever. In fact, this is the 3rd event I've been to where Jenson's been. I was at Monterey. I was in Austin a few weeks ago when he was hooning round in 3rd place in a Jota Porsche in the World Endurance Championship. And here he is now in a rather older Jaguar, and I love to see it. It's great. Already
good stuff,
building.
Good stuff. So Jim Alder is in that group with a 120. Yep. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
I do.
He drives the car from Reno down here.
I said to him, how did you go? You know, he always tells me what it's like to go over the pass, because sometimes in the winter it's snowing, sometimes it's, you know, raining, whatever it is. He always gets a lot of truck drivers giving him a wave. But that is basically the essence of historic racing and certainly period racing, because back in the day, these cars were driven to the track. There was no trolleys. There was nobody putting them in trucks. Oh, look at now, we're seeing what he can do. Now, he's had this specially prepared, I think, I want to say Huffaker as well. But do you know anything about where he's getting this car sorted?
I don't. I've just seen it. He spins that thing at like 6,500 RPM, which is a lot for a Jaguar engine.
No kidding. Well, anyway, going back to James Alder, he said that he was struggling a little bit because the air temperature going over the pass was 110, and the cockpit he was driving in was 125. He said, so I'd had enough of that by the time I got here, but he's ready to go, and he's in the field.
He's also he's also driven that car in snowstorms over Donner Summit, and where they come to the chain controls, and you have to have snow tires. And he said, well, these are Pirelli Cincherato tires, and Cincherato in Italian means snow tire. And they let him through.
Well, there you go. Well, you're looking at that T39 Bobtail Cooper there in 2nd place. And behind him, the number 3. Yep, that's Budenbaum. This car built by International Motors in Los Angeles. Another storied name of this part of the world when it comes to preparation. Late Don Parkinson built this car.
Looks like Jenson's running away with it.
Oh, yeah. 7 seconds already.
Wow, yeah.
He's also driving a Ferrari, and I may add Testarossa.
He's driving a 250 TR. Yeah.
He was a bit more gentle with that one.
His comment was that, you know, the C-Type obviously has a roll bar in it, and the TR doesn't.
All right.
You know, so he's a little more cautious driving the car.
Yeah, you forget he is still a bona fide world championship racing driver. Just because he's not in Formula One does not mean that he's not at the top of his game. I saw him at COTA, and he really was at the top of his game, and he is in the World Endurance Championship. He's doing a full season this year. He's done a bit of NASCAR as well. And like I said, it does kind of top its cap to the likes of Phil Hill and John Surtees and Bruce McLaren, because that's what they did in the day, is that they'd race many different cars. Now, they did it in period and would jump from car to car each week. Nowadays, you know, you wait till retirement. Tony Kanaan's here. He's now retired, helping run McLaren, but he'll be out. And there's several other drivers that are current drivers, like Romain Grosjean is here this way. We're looking at Marcus Bicknell. What do you know about this car?
I don't know anything about that car.
Let's have a look.
Boy, the difference between pro drivers and us amateurs is just huge. I mean, you can see Jenson, how good he is compared to everybody else.
Well, this car was built in 1953, and it is a Streets Manning special, a Shag de Coke. It's from New York, and John Streets helped him put the project together, and it was raced in New York and Canada on hill climbs and races until 1958, as we take a look at the screechy tires of the 63 coming through shot now. A lovely Allard K2 from 1950.
With the big Cadillac engine in it?
Yep.
We take care of one of those Allards for a guy named Camilo Stoyer from Bogota, Colombia, that he's had this Allard. It was his dad's from way back when, and we still have it.
So Button leading the way, so he's got away. You know, and the funny thing is, Charles McCabe's none of the guys behind him are slowpokes, are they, at all?
Yeah, he's just so fast.
Well, we are celebrating Jaguar. I had not really given much thought to just how many Jaguars are here on the West Coast. I am talking about classic C and D type Jaguars. And I guess that was Jaguar's intention, was to get the export market. They really wanted, and they'd only built a limited number of those cars, but a lot of them ended up here in the States.
We have the Le Mans winning D-Type with us. We brought down for Steve Hill, which will be doing demonstration laps. What a wonderful car the D-Types are. I got the pleasure of driving one at the Le Mans Classic in 2002, 4, and 6, long nose D-Type, and it's pretty amazing going down the Mulsanne Straight at 2 o'clock in the morning, doing 185 miles an hour.
Wow!
And it's like this is surreal. It's awesome.
Oh, I can imagine. Absolutely imagine. Boy, that 63 is rolling over the rumble strips, but in control. Big car.
Yes, it is.
What kind of weight would that be?
It's got to weigh 2,500 pounds. The guy's really wheeling the thing.
Currently, that's J.R. Mott in 5th position at the moment, behind Bicknell. Well, you got a little bit strong into 11 there, but he held it all together. Nicely done. Now this car had a Buick engine in it at one point. Finished second in class in La Carrera Classic in 1994. But famously not really able to handle the bumps. We just saw him going over the rumble strips there, and you can see how it upset the car.
Yeah, it gets out of control.
Yeah. Well, like you say, it's a heavy car, and once it's in motion in one direction or another, it's kind of going to go that way, isn't it?
And I think all these cars are on Dunlop tires, which are hard as a rock. It's obviously what you have to run, but they're pretty loose out there.
Yep.
You can see Jenson sliding the car around, and a lot of other guys too.
Just behind him is the number 15, another American-made Streets Manning Special from 1952.
He's doing a good job. He just overtook that Allard.
Built by Wally Chapman and John Streets. Chapman worked with Chuck Manning in California and returned home to make a copy of the Manning Special plan. And so therefore built his own special. And here it is. Did a lot of hill climbs in the day, back in the late 50s. Lars Mapstead, another perennial historic driver. Another claim to fame for him. He's running for president, so there you go.
Wow.
There's always a chance.
There's Dick Mason in the C-Type really wheeling that thing.
Some more screeching under wheels there. Yep, they're pushing him early morning.
That car belongs to Tom Price. It used to be Steve Earle's car.
Right, and Steve Earle, of course.
Yep, Steve had it forever. What a great car.
In fact, the car you're looking at now originally raced in Ireland and then England and was imported and raced by Bob Baker, then Steve Earle and Tom Price, as you mentioned.
Yep.
And Price, as you can see, currently in 6th position. Now, he is a big collector, right? He's got quite a lot
Tom
of cars
Price has
here.
a lot of cars, yes.
And
yeah.
Jenson's racing one of his Ferrari,
He's driving the Ferrari, the TR, yes.
Okay.
What will Roman Grosjean be driving?
I don't know. I'm guessing he'll be doing a McLaren
he's driving something
Classic Indy.
And something for Price.
Maybe.
I don't know what car.
Yeah. This car raced Sebring, 54 and 55, then Bridgehampton, and a lot of hill climbs, 23 races in total. And from there on in, and he's been doing vintage racing ever since. A Denzel Roadster. Who's Denzel?
I never heard of that one.
Yeah. 1953. What else of this? An Aston Martin DB2 prototype. We haven't seen that. We've got a Triumph TR2, a Parkinson special. We saw James Alder's 33, the XK120. There's a couple of those as well. We've got a Porsche Glocker out there. The Curtis special as well. Oh, we've got a couple of Aston Martins, in fact. And we've got one MG. And that's the 19th. And that's a very special MG, too, I may add.
Is that a twin cam MG?
It's the 1950 MG TD that John von Neumann special. The car was entered into the first Pebble Beach road race in 1950. So
probably
it
would not be a twin cam.
No, but still, that's big history because the first ever West Coast major race was held at Pebble Beach, and they held races there for about 5 years before they built Laguna Seca, and of course that replaced it. There was several accidents through the forest, people hitting trees, and they thought, you know what, this probably isn't a good idea. X15 is a 1954 Sorrel Curtis Special and was featured on the cover of Carcraft magazine in 1954.
I was looking at that car. It has a 6-cylinder and it's got 5 carburetors on it.
Wow. Just behind is the 44A. I think I mentioned him. Pretty much raced on the West Coast its entire time, from 55 to 58 in time. And that's a Hageman Sports Racer from 1955, 44A in old silver.
Here comes Button lapping the field.
Yep.
It's pretty awesome.
I was joking with him at WEC about how hard it is to drive a wheel of that size, and I was reading last night that he tried to get a smaller wheel but then couldn't see. So, because you can only go, I mean, you know, you've got to, you can't, because, and why I was bringing the point up was, you know, the size of a modern WEC car, Formula One car wheel is tiny.
They're tiny, yeah.
And if you do any sim racing, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It is just tiny, whereas when you see Jenson at the wheel of this, you'll see he is literally arms
It's a huge
wide.
steering wheel, yes.
Yeah, and it takes some getting used to just how the car, I mean, you can be turning the wheel and literally be waiting for the inertia for the car to roll that way.
Yes.
So it's a skill in itself.
The wheel is so big in those cars that you can't get a tall person in a C-type. Yeah, it's very difficult.
So here is Jenson. Let's see him put this car through its paces. The 2009 Formula One World Champion. And there you see that big wheel
sliding around
in his hands.
There you go.
Look at him. You can see how much he's having to work it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, it's a beautiful sight to see a proper world champion.
Absolutely.
And it makes you think about when Phil Hill was also in a very similar position. Look at him go. He's loving this.
He's got a minute. He's got 56 seconds lead.
Well, I can tell you his best time so far, a 56.6. That's pretty darn impressive, given that Charles McCabe just did a 2:05.4. And I shouldn't really draw too much attention to the times, but because it's Jenson, I will. Because I think a lot of people will be injured. Look at this.
Yeah,
I tell you what, there's going to be some current drivers watching this going, that looks fun. And by the way, he owns this car. He can throw it around. But I have to say, it was actually given to Fangio as a street car, as his street car, while he was racing for Ferrari.
It's amazing.
So it was then exported to Buenos Aires, sold, raced in South America for a while by a local, and then made its way.
Wow.
So I think we can pretty much say that Jenson Button's going to take his first win in his own car.
Is this the last lap?
Yeah. And like I said,
how long is this the first time Jenson's been at Sears Point?
You know, I'm guessing so, because I can't think of any other reason for him to have been here, unless he did a NASCAR here. But I don't think so.
It's amazing the pro drivers where you look at his line and I mean, only being around the track a handful of times that he's got the perfect line around the track.
He really is enjoying it. You can tell by the way he's working the wheel.
Pro drivers are just way ahead of these amateurs.
Well, you know, what it is it's an exaggeration of what he does in a Formula One car, to be honest, or in a wet car, which is those deft movements which are far more accessible to see with a large wheel like that.
Yeah.
But that's what you're doing as a racing driver. A lot of people don't understand where the tenths come from, but it is that just tiny little adjustment each and every moment that you notice when you look at it on board very carefully of a modern race car. But you can see it so much more clearly here in the older cars. Beautiful.
And you can see that he's on the edge. I mean, coming out of the corner, it just sawing on that wheel.
So this is Group 1, and somewhat impressively, Jenson Button doing the business here in California, representing Jaguar and Great Britain very nicely, ahead of McCabe and Boudabon. And then Bicknell, Mott, Price, Mapstead 7th, James Alder in 8th. Senior Mott, so it's father and son out there too, both 4th and 9th, and Wazard in 10th position in that 44A. Here's your second place man, Mr. McCabe, Charles McCabe. Couldn't be more different, could it?
Yeah, he's doing a good job.
Well, we're going to see some wonderful cars. So how many different cars are you working on?
We only have...
You're a preparation shop, right, Intrepid?
Intrepid Racing, yes.
Yeah.
We've got a Devon SS, which is going to be in Group 2 coming up. And then we have a Lola T70 Coupe, which is a really cool car. It's coming up, I think, at 10:45.
Mm-hmm. So all in all, of a weekend like this, how many cars are you kind of...
We've only got 3 cars, and a lot of times we'll have half a dozen cars, but this time we've only got 3 cars.
Oh, this is just an absolute glorious exhibition. I tell you what, I bet he's channeling his inner Fangio right now. I love it. Jenson Button then on his way to victory in what should be a big weekend for him and an enjoyable one too. Let's hope there's no mechanical issues.
There you go.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, Bert, thanks for coming in.
Betcha, thank you. It's great to be here.
Glad you could enjoy this with me, and I'm sure
wonderful.
Jenson with you. Feel free to come back. There's a. We've also got the Jaguars out there later. So if you want to talk, see
if you
your
need help,
D-type,
absolutely.
Yeah, come on
betcha.
in.
Okay. Thank you so much,
Bert.
Jonathan. Thank you.
Appreciate you coming in.
Have a good
well
one.
done to Jenson Button, my fellow countryman, doing the business. There's the checkered flag.
There you go.
And that is Group 1 in the books. Well done, Jenson.
So how much money does he win?
Don't know. Don't think he's got to think about prize money. He's got to jump into a Ferrari fairly soon. Thanks, Bert.
Thank you.
Let's head down to Taylor, who's got Steve Rimmer down in Velocity Lane.